Welcome to class. My name is Mr. Makori, who will be teaching you this unit on quantitative techniques or quantitative methods. The first topic that we are supposed to look in this particular unit is actually the introduction to quantitative techniques or quantitative methods. So here, I'm going to explain why is it important for a student or a learner to be in a class and to be taught the quantitative techniques or quantitative methods. It is actually clear that we are living in a very dynamic world, in the sense that what is happening, it is actually very hard for an individual to predict or to use his or her own judgment to predict and come up with a very, very objective decision. So decisions that are made by the managers nowadays, they are normally subjected into the quantitative techniques or methods so that the best decision possible can be derived or can be arrived at. So quantitative technique, it provides the decision maker with a systematic and powerful means of analysis and help based on the quantitative data in exploring policies for achieving predetermined goals. So it is one of the tools that is used by the managers when they are about to make the decisions, so that now they can be able to know of all the options that are on my disposal, which one is the best through the mathematical aspect. So the role of quantitative techniques are as follows. Number one, it provides a tool for scientific analysis. Here, it simply means that those managers or executives are actually subjected into a scenario whereby each and every decision they make, they must analyze it in terms of the cause and the effect, and also the cost and the benefit, so that now we go ahead and make the decision that is going to be more viable in an organization depending on the resources which are actually available. The other option, it provides solution for various business problems. When a business is running, it normally faces some challenges. Like, for example, we don't know how much stock we are supposed to hold, that is to buy and store, so that now our inventory cost can be kept minimum. To help us achieve that, you find that there is a topic in quantitative techniques or methods that helps the managers in solving that. You find that maybe the managers don't understand what is the best combination of items that an organization needs to produce so that the profit can be maximum. You find again there is a topic in quantitative techniques or management or methods, where that particular solution can be derived. So it helps in coming up with solutions for the problems that businesses face. Also, it enables proper deployment of resources. Like, for example, if there is a project that is being undertaken by an organization, you will find that there's that particular topic that helps those particular managers in deploying the resources in the best way possible, in knowing which activity should start, which should follow, and which one should come last, so that now that particular project can be undertaken within the scheduled time and within the budget. Another law for this particular unit is that it helps in minimizing waiting and servicing cost. We have the time analysis, whereby an organization can be able to know how are we going to optimize the operations such that now we don't keep our customers waiting for too long. At the same time, we don't incur a lot of cost in serving those particular customers. So here, the organization will focus on the service cost versus the waiting cost. The service cost, it is the cost the organization will incur in making the customers actually served. Like, for example, if you go to the bank, if, for example, there's only one teller, you will find that you as a customer, you will have to wait in that particular queue for quite a long period of time. But from the organization, which is the bank's point of view, they are going to incur very little cost because they are only going to pay the salary for that particular one teller. At the same time, if they have like maybe 20 tellers, whereby you just go and you find all of them are idle and you can check in any counter, again now you'll find the waiting cost is not there, but the service cost, which is now incurred by the bank, is quite high. So through quantitative techniques or method, the organization can best know the number of service delivery points they can have, and at that particular point they can be able to know how they are going to minimize the service cost and the waiting cost at the same time. Number 5, it helps in choosing the optimum strategy. That is, quantitative technique will help the management in choosing the best strategy possible. And also, they render great help in optimum resource allocation and enables the management to decide when to buy and how much to buy. And this one is assisted by the topic on the inventory control techniques. And lastly, they facilitate the process of decision making. Even if quantitative technique has got all those merits, it suffers some demerits. It has some limitations. Number 1, the inherent limitation concerning mathematical expressions. You will find that most of the mathematical expressions are normally derived on assumptions. And when we talk about the assumptions, these are actually the things or the atmosphere that must exist for those particular mathematical models to be applied. And more often than not, you'll find that those models or assumptions, they don't make sense. Like for example, you'll find that there is an assumption that in inventory control that the consumption rate will be constant and uniform throughout the year, whereas we know when the year is running, we have some points where the demand is high, at other points the demand is very low. But for you to apply maybe the economic order quantity model, which is used in inventory control, it assumes that the consumptions remain or the consumption remain constant throughout the year. So those are some of the limitations that we are talking about. The models are based on assumptions, some of which are actually illogical in the real world scenario. Another limitation is high costs are involved in using the quantitative techniques. So you'll find that for you to apply the quantitative techniques, either you must have the softwares for the organization to be able to apply these models, or you should hire the experts who are able to run or to come up with a decision using this particular model. And at the end of the day, you'll find that this will be an additional cost to that particular organization. Another thing is that quantitative techniques do not take into consideration the intangible factors. Some of other factors which are quite important in the performance of an organization cannot be expressed mathematically. Like an example, the morale or the motivation level of the employees, which is quite important in the performance of an organization. But there is no way we can measure the motivation level of employees, and such kind of important aspects are omitted when we are applying the quantitative techniques or method. And we also have this limitation that quantitative techniques are just tools of analysis and do not completely eliminate actually the human aspect. Even if we are employing them, we cannot work without actually the human aspect on it. And therefore you'll find even if the decision is quite okay, the human aspect can come in and maybe we find it is not the best way out, and then we reject it and we choose another approach. Classification of quantitative techniques. So quantitative techniques are broadly classified into two, where we have the statistical techniques and programming techniques. So statistical techniques, these are techniques that are conducted for inquiry purpose, to inquire on the state of a certain phenomenon. So this actually involve the correction of data, analyzing of data, interpreting of data, so that now you can be able to come up with the results which is now going to be used in the decision making. We also have the other aspect, which is the programming techniques, which are actually models which are used for the decision making purpose, as opposed to the statistical where it involves correcting of data and all that. This one actually, they are just there, they are already there, and they are actually used. Those particular models are applied in the work environment, and the decision that was supposed to be made is actually made out of it. Then you realize that quantitative techniques is applied across the entire organization, from the personnel management, which is the human resource management, whereby now we can get data on ranking employees in terms of their performance. We have quantitative techniques being applied in the project management. In the project management, remember, we have something whereby an organization is utilizing its finances to achieve a certain objective, and a project is actually something that has got a definite starting point and an end point. So through quantitative techniques, we can be able to organize the activities that are involved in that particular project, so that that particular project is achieved as predetermined. So you can have a project of building a house. So we have got those steps that are involved in constructing a house, and actually quantitative techniques can be applied there, so that now you find that the project will be achieved within the stipulated time. The other one is production planning and scheduling. This is actually used in production, where raw materials are converted into finished goods, and here you find that it is going to be applicable in evaluating the cost, the timing, location of a business enterprise and all that. Those aspects actually involve quantitative techniques. Then we have purchasing and inventory. You'll find that the inventory level, even though we know that having enough stock is something very positive to an organization, we should also note that having excess inventory in an organization is harmful because of other factors. You are going to incur a lot of cost to have it in your store. You are going actually to find that that excess stock is actually tying your capital and such kind of thing. So quantitative technique or method can be applied so that you can be able to know the optimum, the best quantity that you need to stock as the raw materials or finished goods for that matter. And lastly, but not lastly actually, we also have the marketing. It is also applied in marketing. Remember, the Department of Marketing is concerned with making the products of an organization known to those potential customers. So it is also applied there in the process of knowing the production mix, which involves knowing the quantity of product A, quantity of product B, which is in demand in the market and such kind of thing. It is also used in finance, whereby we normally find the best way of investing the surplus finances, so that now the organization can also derive some benefits from those surplus finances in the foreseeable future. So basically, that is the introduction part of it. The unit itself is so friendly and it's actually easy to understand. I normally encourage my learners that of all the units that you need to score a distinction, then quantitative techniques or method should be actually be number one, because it is always straightforward. So in this case, we are now going to go to our chapter number 2, which will be on the correlation and regression, and then you will find how the facts are flowing and how you apply that particular concept on correlation and regression in actually coming up with the conclusions in the prevailing circumstance or the issue that you are supposed to handle using this particular topic. Thank you very much and be blessed. And I want to urge you to always be punctual, and we shall be using a face-to-face, not actually face-to-face, but a live kind of a classroom, whereby I'll have a whiteboard from my end, and as we do the question, you can be able to see from your end what we are doing, and then always purpose to do more exercises from the questions that I'm going to give you. Thank you very much.